It's the Greatest Generation loved writing letters about, and that was their like shit post back in the day. Instead of going to Reddit and just being like, Epstein didn't kill him.
Oh my god, if I see one more of those fucking memes, I'm gonna kill myself. Christ. You know, I'm so sick and tired of reading something that I think is informational, and then I get to the goddamn end, and then it's Epstein didn't kill him. Fuck, get over it.
Hello, and welcome to Dying on a Hill, the podcast about marketing and business decisions that should have been stopped before they were started. This week is really cool. I'm really excited about this because my guest, well, one of the stories is like fucking bonkers, but my guest is one of my favorite people. She's not a comedian, but she is one of the best shit talkers I've ever met. Candice Young.
Thank you. That is a very kind intro. Yeah, I don't do anything, but I can talk shit like nobody's business, which is like, yeah, that's sort of, yeah, that's kind of my thing.
It makes your real life funny, which is what's actually important.
Yes.
Like we were saying, like, man, Candice is one of our funniest friends, but she has no interest in performing, unlike us idiots. So it's like a superpower. But this week we're here to talk about one of the funniest, I think, and most like avoidable marketing faux pas ever, and that was Hoover vacuum in the year 1992. What happened? We're about to find out.
Okay.
So, just to note, I sourced a lot of articles from the Independent, like a British newspaper. I'm just going to be saying an independent article, and they're all sourced, so people can just find them in the sources. Just because it just was going to be redundant to keep saying, like, but this one's by this guy, and this one's by this person. So they did an amazing job of covering it because Hoover's a British company owned by Maytag, which is an American company. Well, that'll come into play later. But yeah, just a little heads up. So, are you ready for this?
Yes.
What do you know about Hoover?
I know it's a vacuum cleaner company owned by Maytag, which but I think they also did like they do like the wet vac things too.
Oh yeah.
I think, yeah, where like it sucks up all the water. I don't know. I just always used to love watching those commercials.
I feel like they were really, when I grew up, they were like the ugly gray vacuum, but I think they were still considered to be good, right? Mm-hmm. Like nothing
sucks like a Hoover.
Yeah.
I think that was the slogan, is nothing sucks like a Hoover, which they kind of knew. They had to know what they were doing.
They knew. Well, so back in 1991, it all started with two marketing, I call them upstarts, but they're like vice presidents and presidents, Michael Gilby and Brian Webb at Hoover. This is again according to the Independent. Gilby, who was the director of marketing services, and Webb, who was the vice president of marketing in the UK, along with William R. Faust, had a problem going into 1991 holiday season. They had too many vacuums, basically. The recession was hitting, and so they had a lot of overstock, and they needed to introduce a new line. So rather than have their stores bogged down with all this inventory, they're like, well, how do we do a flash sale? Let's figure out a way to get people to buy our vacuums. Sure, we lose a little bit of money. Our margins aren't the same, but we're not basically wasting warehouse space for these things. It's a problem everyone... It's basically the reason why Black Friday exists.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like, I just went to the Glendale Mall, and Adidas is, like, empty, because, like, oh, we're getting all of our shit, like, in November. That's going to be the new season, basically, for the holidays. But, yeah, so it's pretty normal, I guess, to do that. But what they did wasn't a good idea, and it wasn't normal. They joined with a travel insurance company called JSL Travel. And all they did was put out this ad in newspapers. Just take a look at it. It's a pretty innocuous ad. Okay. You know, it's basically saying, hey, you buy a vacuum, you get some free flights.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That seems relatively, although it says a washing machine on there, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, that you could buy a washing machine.
Oh,
right?
okay. So they do. Hoover is like
Yeah.
they're most known for vacuums, but they do anything home
I
appliance.
think this may have counted for like Maytag products that were branded as Hoover in Britain, maybe. I can see that kind of like synergy happening. But the deal was, all you had to do was buy a Hoover product that was over 120 pounds. And then you'd qualify for a ticket. And the ticket would get you any choice of like six, the ticket would get you a choice of any six like European cities. Mm-hmm. They didn't say which ones, but I think we can all guess whatever the cheapest European cities are, like Madrid, Paris, like the ones that people just go to and they just need to fill up a seat.
Yeah.
So what was supposed to happen is you send in a receipt, and then after 60 days of just back and forth, here's a voucher for the ticket, here's the thing, blah, 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 which is honestly, it seems like it was built to be a huge pain in the ass that people would want to follow through on.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, how bad could this be? Well, what they wanted to sell was 50,000 units. They're like, if we can sell 50,000 units, we're going to be fine. Because they assumed that because the ticket was such a deal that they would want to buy better vacuums, like vacuums that weren't just the 120 minimum.
Right.
That they'd be like, well, if I got to buy a vacuum, I'll buy the vacuum I want.
Yeah, like it's worth spending an extra like $100 because I get this tick. So not only do I have a nice vacuum, but I can also go somewhere that I wouldn't have thought of to go. Okay, all right, I'm with you. This is starting to sound like a good deal. But...
So what didn't happen?
Okay.
was that they ended up selling 100,000 units of only 120 quid. So instead, they sold 100,000 units of just the lowest margin products they had. And then in a panic move, they opened it up to Florida and New York. And they added those two cities in. And then they sold another 100,000 of the lowest margin units.
Okay.
For a total of 200,000. They made 30 million, but they spent 50 million.
All right. That's not, yeah.
Because there was such a high demand for like their shittiest products. Their factories had to go to a 7-day work week, and they had to hire temps to process all of the orders for the vacuums.
all the lowest cost items.
And keep in mind, this was only Britain and only Ireland.
Okay.
This company managed to lose that much money in like one little island.
Did they even try, like, they were just assuming that people would buy the more expensive thing? They didn't try and like get people to buy the more, like they just like literally put their $120 vacuum on everything, and then they were like, come buy this thing.
Yeah, what people did was some people didn't even pick up the fucking vacuum. They
just they movie passed it, where like people were getting movie pass just to go to theaters to go to the bathroom, and then they were just getting tickets to go, because I guess in New York it's notorious for not having bathrooms, and people were just in the beginning when Movie Pass was like unlimited everything, and it was $10 a month, people were signing up for Movie Pass and they would just go into like the AMC in Times Square or something, go to the bathroom, and then just fucking bounce out.
That's fucking incredible.
And then they were just like, hey, I'm paying $10 for like access to any bathroom in the city.
Oh my God.
And then no one was like, oh, hey, maybe this isn't like such a great idea.
Jesus Christ. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. It's just so people were just buying vacuums, and they're like, I don't even want a vacuum, but it's more cost effective for me to buy $120 vacuum than it would be to actually get a ticket to go to the place that I want to go to.
Exactly. And JSL, the insurance company, they said they would subsidize up to a certain point, but they were hoping that they would sell enough travel insurance to make up for the difference between the ticket and the vacuum, which no one's going to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on travel insurance. And it was a free round trip ticket. So this thing was worth like $600 fucking dollars.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, did people even buy like travel insurance? I mean, even now, the idea of travel insurance just seems like the most ridiculous sort of thing because I've like looked into it, and it's like, unless, I mean, even if you get like hit by a bus or like you lose a limb, you still can't qualify because it's like, I mean, it's insurance. So it's like the rules are like, there's only a very specific scenario in which one can even benefit from travel insurance that.
And don't most European countries have like nationalized healthcare anyways?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like they didn't even need it for that. And then even if you can't even if you have to cancel a $600 flight, then it's like
whatever.
You only paid it. Yeah. You only paid $120. So it's a bummer. But yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This actually ended up really hurting Hoover because all of a sudden the aftermarket was flooded with never used Hoover vacuums. So they were being resold for like 60, pounds, like 70 pounds, whatever. Like if someone could get the airline ticket and then somehow make a little money back, they were going to do it. So the newspaper was just littered with people buying, like people trying to sell the vacuum that they never wanted in the first place.
Brand new, never before used Hoover vacuums.
Yeah, and so it made it seem like Hoover was like a cheap brand that no one wanted. And up until this point, Hoover was like kind of a very prideful British, like, oh, British people are making this, and so we love it. and now it was just really embarrassing. And that's kind of when I think Dyson took over instead of Hoover as like a much more loved brand. Because people were also like really pissed off that they had to work during the holidays like so much extra to fulfill these orders that were just going to go into a landfill.
Yeah. Wow.
This all happened within like 4 months. This didn't take a long time.
That's crazy that it to go from like one of the top sort of like, I don't know, products.
Yeah.
In kind of the world. Because Hoover was well known here too, just to sort of like Walmart quality. Like I don't know what their like generic brand is. I can't think of it off. Mainstays, I think that's what it is. God. Like to just go from Hoover to Mainstays within a 4-month period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it actually did. Yeah.
Okay.
And like, God, vacuums suck. Like I never want to be able, like I never, but like shopping for a vacuum is the worst. And they used to have entire stores that were like, let us help you pick out this vacuum.
I mean, they used to have vacuum repairs. Like people would straight up rather repair their vacuum than go buy a new one. Mm-hmm. Because I guess that's just how much that's just how much vacuums suck. Or like trying to buy one.
Oh my God, that's a good point. So then imagine if like you could buy a brand new Hoover for like $60 off of the newspaper. Why would you go and repair your 30-year-old?
Yeah, Hoover vacuum. So, what's the point?
It also probably fucked over a bunch of vacuum repair shops.
It's really crazy how all this stuff like one. I mean, it really is a butterfly effect. Like how just one little decision ends up like trickling out throughout the whole entire, and like how many people and everything is affected by it. Because even like if you're an airline too and you get like this flood of all these people all of a sudden who want to go,
yeah, they had trouble processing it. They were gladly taking it because they were not giving any discounts.
Right, so right, because it was all the travel insurance company who was forking over the money for it. Right. So if you're the airlines, you're getting the money out. I mean,
and I think they only did it for up to the planned 50,000 units, because it seems like Hoover had to flip the bill for a lot, like for so much. It says that they lost like, I've seen some reports say it's like $70 million. I've seen some that say like they lost 80. It's kind of all over the place. I'll get to that later though. But apparently like these kind of marketing tactics back in that day were pretty normal. I'm going to read from another author from The Independent. This is Chris Blackhurt, describing what he calls cock-ups. Okay. And this is a 1993 article. So he's just like, hey, here's some recent shit that's been going down. A bingo competition run by Procter & Gamble, the soap powder giant, once resulted in a flood of winners of washing machines after too many right numbers were printed. In 1984, McDonald's ran an Olympic Games competition in which customers won a gold medal every time an American won a gold medal.
Oh, God.
In which customers won a gold medal. I think they meant like they got a burger or something.
Right.
Like, customers got a burger every time there was a gold medal. When the Eastern Bloc boycotted the games, U.S. athletes had no real competition, and McDonald's had to find an awful lot of gold. Wait, was it actual? Oh, I got to do a research thing on that.
They were actually giving people gold for how many like gold medals Americans won?
Maybe it was like one of those like those late night I'm too depressed to go to sleep, so I'm watching like something and it's like, did you know gold is on the rise?
Yeah.
There's been a new reprint of the famous fucking something or other.
Or like don't trust, like the American economy is gonna tank, so you better invest in gold and like hide it under your bed.
Or just
gold story, the guy, the gold coin.
The gold oh God. Yeah, that guy. Oh man. Yeah, I worked for a guy who like was selling coins on the internet, and that was like the weirdest job I've ever had, because I was just getting paid cash, like, and the whole deal was just go on Backpage and then go on Craigslist and go on any kind of website, selling except eBay, but just it was all like shady shit. And he just had these like boxes and boxes of all these like some of them were gold, some of them were just like commemorative coins, and my job was just to post ads for like these gold coins, but in like every single city. And like, so like in New York, in LA, in Chicago, in Boston, in like every major city.
Uh-huh.
And that was just like, and he paid me like $25 an hour. And then he was just, it got weird because then he started talking to like, he would do Skypes on his computer, and then he started talking to like all these like very Eastern European women, and was like, yeah, so I just need somebody to come here and like clean my house, and there's not gonna be any funny stuff that's going on, but I just need like someone to help take care of my house. And they're like, oh yeah, I can do that, and I'm like, oh shit, he's like getting a mail order bride, and like this is fucking weird. And when I was like, dude's paying me $25 an hour cash, so I was like, okay, just don't fuck with me and we'll be fine. and then one day he came in, and then he asked me to look up Arizona Heart Hospital.
Okay.
And he's like, can you get me the number to Arizona Heart Hospital? And I was like, okay. So I looked it up and I gave it to him. And then he opens the closet and he takes out this bag, like the bag is prepared. Like the bag is just ready to go. And then he comes back in, and he's like full on scratching his chest. And he's like, so I'm going to need you to go, and I'll call you back when I need you again. And I never heard from him again. So I don't know if he died that day. I don't know if he's dead now. I don't know if he ever got somebody to come from, Romania or wherever the fuck he was talking to these women from to like take care of his house. But yeah, he just one day was like, oh, hey, I need the number to a heart hospital, had like a go bag ready. And then I never heard from him again.
Oh my God.
So yeah, but it all started because he just needed someone to post ads. That just sent me down like a memory road.
So I do this thing where I put my favorite, like completely unrelated talks just at the end of the episode. That one's definitely going in.
Okay.
All right. But back to Hoover.
Okay.
All right. So that's when Hoover, after all the shenanigans and shit of just, basically losing a lot of money and not being able to give people their actual plane tickets because they couldn't afford them, that's when they got their own anti-lobby group, the Hoover Holiday Pressure Group. I guess because it was a bunch of people who had made plans to travel during the holidays, and now Hoover was just not fulfilling those vouchers because they couldn't process them fast enough because they didn't have enough people actually dedicated to this project, and B, they didn't like have the actual cash. Like Later on, they had to get the cash from somewhere. I'll tell you that. But this place, I described the group as just a group full of Karens, basically. Like, it's a group of people who thought they were getting away with something, and then they got pissed off when the con was actually too good to be true. But, like, not because of it. Like, it's like their con was too good to actually work.
So now they're and sorry, what was the name of this group again?
The Hoover Holiday Pressure Group.
Like, what? That clearly no one in that group was like creative at any point in their lives, because the Hoover Holiday Pressure Group, like, I don't even know what that, like, there's nothing in that title that even tells me what it, Hoover Holiday Pressure Group, that doesn't even make any sense.
If these people are still alive, they definitely voted in favor of Brexit.
And then looked up what is Brexit on Google the day after.
Oh, I do want to make Britain great again. So, dink. The group is led by this guy, Harry Sitchie, which just seems like the most... Again, he's just a Karen, and he's fucking described as a tirelessly champion... it describes him saying that he tirelessly championed the flightless. Because, you know, British newspapers always have to make things cute.
Yeah.
The community then, you're going to love this guy. The community then got their own little anti-hero in horse trainer, and he's a horse trainer, David Dixon, and he basically got so pissed off that he stole a van. And people fucking loved it.
Like, from Hoover?
Yeah. So, as reported by the BBC, Dixon said, "There comes a time when you've got to make a stand, when you've got to say enough is enough. That's when a Hoover engineer came to fix the washing machine, and then a careless comment got to him, and it gave him more than he bargained for. He said, 'If you think buying a washing machine's going to get you 2 tickets to America, you must be an idiot,' Mr. Dixon recalled. Huh, that was like a red flag to a bull. I thought to myself, an idiot am I? I said, I'm not as stupid as you are. I'm not going to have to walk home." And then he stole the van. And I'm guessing, like... And I'm guessing David Dixon was at his own fucking house.
Yeah. So he so he stole the van and then just like drove around and then came back and like the guy. What? Imagine all the effort that goes into this being applied somewhere constructive, like. The capacity we have as humans to organize and rally is really great, and it's really amazing. Except this is what we rally around.
Yeah.
He was their hero, their champion of the movement.
They loved him.
The movement of people angry that they didn't get the vouchers for a vacuum that they didn't even want, that they didn't even pick up.
And apparently there were like dozens of thousands of people in this group.
And this is before the internet.
This is before.
So this is before. So this is people like snail mailing each other.
Snail mail, probably seeing little leaflets or seeing
organizing, like leaving their house for the sole purpose of going to somebody else's house to get together in a group or a park or somewhere to talk about how they need to pressure Hoover into giving them their vouchers. This doesn't make any sense at all. This is such, I mean, I waste a lot of time. I waste more time than anyone on the planet. But good God, that is an even more waste of time than all the bullshit I do. Like that just is so stupid. Like, fucking cut your losses.
Yeah.
Like, go get the vacuum and then just have your vacuum and be done with it. Like, Jesus Christ. Oh. Fucking idiots, man.
Oh, well, but bad PR wasn't all. The HHPG bought a bunch of shares in Maytag and then attended the annual shareholder meeting to basically just call out as much bullshit as they could. So not only did they put in the effort you just talked about,
They spent more money. They gave the company more money just so they could go yell at them in their face. Wow, you really got them there, guys. They pulled their money together and then bought shares of the company just to go to a meeting to yell at them.
Yeah.
Does it say how much shares they actually bought?
No, I think anyone who actually holds a share can attend these things.
Oh, okay.
So it could have been,
technically-
but like still flying to the meeting. It's an American meeting.
Yeah, it's still giving. Every time you buy a share, that's still going towards the company. Like,
Well, so like I said, the three chuckle fucks that thought it was cheaper to sell an airline ticket than to, sell sell a vacuum, they were fired. But this HHPG wasn't really happy with that, and so they kept interrupting the meeting. And then Leonard Hadley, the chairman of Maytag, then responded saying, "Maytag has been in business for 100 years. I've been there for 34 of them," which is like fucking absurd these days. Like, this is 1992, and this guy's like, "I've been at this company for 34
since
fucking
like the
years.
60s. Yeah.
I've had 30 jobs in my adult life." Like, this, like, okay, boomer.
Yeah, that really is. Long-term jobs at like the same company is very much a boomer. Yeah, a boomer.
Yeah. And
mindset.
He says, "It's like a bad accident which has happened, and you are unable to determine what." Okay. He says, "It's like a bad accident which has happened, and you are unable to determine what was in the driver's mind when it happened." He says, "And I've never seen anything that approaches this." At the meeting, a spokesperson, Carolyn Knight, said for Hoover that she couldn't actually figure out how many of the flights they still needed to process because there were still vouchers coming in. I think one of the problems is that they had a really long, like, you can turn in your tickets by.
Right. It was like a 4 months. So people had bought them but hadn't necessarily redeemed their vouchers yet. So vouchers were still coming in even through all this mess.
And the law with those sweepstakes and stuff is that you have to honor them. Like, if you're advertising when you're putting them out there, then they have to be true.
Right. And it, as long as everything is correct on the thing that they turn in, then it has to be. Oh, yeah.
And so, like I said, the losses could have been up to 72 million. That's what I've seen reported. But I don't think that number includes any of the lawsuits from Harry Sitchie, the Karen, and his other Karens at the Hoover Holiday Pressure, because they actually lost these lawsuits. Like, I read articles saying that, oh yeah, they lost another lawsuit, the third one, but it just never disclaims what the settlement is. So I think Hoover was trying to settle these things as fast as possible without the fucking like HHPG or whatever like catching on that, like, yeah, people can cash in.
Hoover Holiday Pressure Group. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, so if they sued and they won, I mean, I guess it worked.
Yeah.
Is the lesson that bitching actually gets you something? I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Karens won.
The Karens definitely did win. That's the sad thing too, is that the Karens always win. Like when Janet Jackson's tit flopped out on the Super Bowl, the Karens won, because after that everything got censored way more. That's why this Chappelle show happened before that, and it was just kind of was grandfathered into being able to have like a lot of swears and a lot of vulgarity. But after that, the evangelical community kind of realized that they could swing a lot of power over what gets broadcasted by basically just writing, 50 letters.
Wow. Dang. That's
because the truth of the matter is, broadcasting companies are they're self-censoring. There's no FCC person saying they can't do something. The FCC just gives them a fine. It's like a referee. They're not there to tell them, hey, hold up. They're just there to give them the punishment.
Yeah.
And so I guess they probably had to actually fulfill the hundreds of thousands of tickets. And like I said, like British Airways, Virgin, like everyone was like, yeah, come on, go for a trip.
So what happens to the well, yeah, I guess the insurance company who were doing the vouchers, I
think they subsidized it for a point, and then I think they subsidized it to a point, and then they realized they were just losing so much money that they backed out of it. But because the ad said Hoover was on the line. It wasn't like if you also get insurance. It was just, nope, buy a fucking Hoover vacuum.
Right. Oh, man.
And it's funny because like when we make fun of this and be like, oh yeah, like it was a bad idea. And of course, like hindsight is always 2020. But I did find a quote from a risk advisor named Mark Kimber, who said that he worked with Hoover at the time and knew of this project. And here's his quote. I advised Hoover of the potential pitfalls of the promotion, having looked at the details of the promotion along with attempting to calculate how it would actually work. I declined to even offer risk management coverage based on the information presented. With such a high value offer for only a relatively small cost to the consumer, to me, it made no logical sense.
Oh my God, this really is movie. I mean, this is. I hate to keep bringing it up, but I mean, this is fucking Movie Pass, and this is just, oh, everyone's just gonna gobble this up, and you have to push people into buying the more expensive thing. Like, of course, if you tell people you only have to spend this much money, they're only going to spend that much money.
Like, imagine how much less money they would have lost if they just actually made it a $300 vacuum. Like, let's just buy a $300 vacuum and we're good. They would have made 3 times as much money, or the margins would have been so much better. Like, on the cheapest item, the margins are always like at most 50%, but it's usually probably 30%. Like, with lower ticket items, you're either trying to get people who just normally wouldn't buy a vacuum anyways, so their business is just, good business, don't have to worry about them after. But for the most part, those lower ticket items are just meant to like entice people in so that they can see there's a shitty one, there's a medium one, and there's a great one. And they always get the medium one because they don't want to get the shitty one. But when you incentivize getting the shitty one,
then what's the point in getting the or if you incentivize getting the shitty one but don't convince people to get the medium one by just assuming that they will logically in their heads still get the medium one, thinking about the deal. Like, that's so stupid. Like, I would say you could still do the price point and then have a bunch of ads that are like, hey, since you only have to do 100, but now you're getting this free ticket. Why not treat yourself to a super awesome vacuum and get a ticket to go to Paris or something? So not only do you get to go to Paris, you get a fucking sweet vacuum too.
Yeah, or like
all for the price of one.
Like, figure out what $100 is of a typical ticket, and then like just boost it a little bit and be like, hey, for $100, you get 25% off of a ticket with British Airways because we have an agreement with them. Like, that's the way to do it. For an actual, like, these, like, I read an article that painted these 3 guys, Webb and I think Barkley was. I closed my laptop, so I apologize for not knowing his name. It made it seem like they woke up in the middle of the night and had like a fucking eureka moment. Like, I know what's gonna sell all these fucking vacuums. 2 fucking plane tickets there and back for $100. Like, you gotta run this shit by, oh god. And that's the funny thing with like the Maytag CEO. It's like, you can't have a branch, even if it's like like Hoover was very independent at this point. It was one of those things that they got bought just because they kept making money. So Maytag bought them and we're like, just keep doing what you're doing. We're not going to change you.
We're not trying to fix the wheel here because we just want it because we want all the money.
Yeah, you guys are a great add to our portfolio. We'd love to have you. It's like that. But when this happened and Maytag ended up having to sell $30 million worth of shares to make up for the cash deficit that this fucking thing cost. They were like, okay, your privileges have been revoked.
Yeah, like you will be monitored from here on out. Like everything must go through us.
Yeah, and I think that's, and now that I, you know, after going back to our conversation where we were talking about like Hoover in the 90s to us, maybe that's why it actually made its way over to America. Maytag, as far as we know, maybe Maytag was just itching for Hoover to fuck up so they can then take their name and then just start licensing it to America.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, fuck, they don't own their brand anymore. We just literally had to pay $30 million for their, like, I can't imagine what kind of, all right, so it's like 1992. Are you thinking Coke? Are you thinking, it's gotta be Coke, right? It can't be heroin or weed. Like what like super like 90s drugs could some like vice president of marketing have been on?
I think Coke was definitely still a 90s like I feel like crystal meth isn't until like late 90s.
Okay, yeah. Although the bass and drum scene in England might have been kicking up at this point. The drum and bass scene, like the house scene.
So then there probably would have been.
They're like Molly or something.
Yeah. I
like this fucking guy's flying to Majorca to like see the fucking sunrise with like Fat Boy Slim bumping through the beach, and he's like, "Oh man, I got it! If we can just give away tickets to Majorca with a fucking Hoover vacuum."
I think it also just relies too much on the mass public being logical, and I hate to be one of those people that are like, oh, people are fucking dumb, blah 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 blah, because that's just like so tired and old, and like we're all dumb, so what does it matter? But on a big, but it just, I feel like it put too much faith on the consumer to want. If there's no incentive for me to buy something better, why would I buy something better? That doesn't make any sense. And so if you're relying too much on your consumer, then it's just like, well, sometimes you really have to do like spell it out for people.
Like, the scam gods are always going to take, like I had this, so I used to run campaigns where we would incentivize people for sharing on Facebook and Twitter and through email and having people sign up. Like if someone signed up through your link, you get referral points. The higher points you get, the more you go into a tier where you can be like in a raffle or whatever. And so I had to adhere always by like a lot of rules. I had to actually randomize the drawings, which mean we had to like belong to a service that would pick the names. And we like, it was just, you upload a list and then it shoots out. It just literally shoots out a name back at you. You pay fucking $10 a month for that. But it's like, yeah, you just got to be able to prove that it is random, and you can't prove it's random if you're just like on an Excel spreadsheet, just randomly clicking a cell. And one of the problems I had always were that, you know, I would have 10,000 emails and there would be 3,000 fake as fuck emails in there because people would set up these bots and these like Russian fucking mail email services, and it would just be like yaz.com or something, some fucking crazy shit, and it would just be 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4, and it would just be fucking infinite. And I'm like, oh my god, like I learned how much effort people are willing to put in to like get away with something. Yeah. And it amazes me, man.
or to get something that they perceive as free.
And like I, you know, just like our president is proving, they would then email me and demand that they had a right to these points and a right to the drawings. And I'd be like, dude, I looked into your points and I looked into your referrals. They're all the fakest fucking emails I've ever seen. Yeah. There's no way that you intimately know someone whose email is like abc123@yahoo.com.
Or that you know 65 Yaz's.
Yeah. And they would just double down on the lie until I was just like, okay, go sue me. Please sue me. I have everything on email and I have access to your thing. Like, they're always going to threaten that shit. And it's a lot of guys in like pretending. They're either pretending to be from Texas or they are from Texas. And like a lot of like self-proclaimed marketing geniuses. Like, you're not a genius. You're just a fucking cheater. Like,
yeah.
And like, I respect you, but I caught you. The rules of cheating is when I catch you, I let you go, and you don't get in trouble, and you just go fair game.
Yeah, and then move on to the next one, and like hopefully you don't get caught there, but not like double down and threaten to sue. Like that really is like the American way, though. I guess it's like.
Have you ever gotten away with like just taking advantage of a scam?
Taking advantage of a scam.
Like when a company definitely just didn't think it all through, and you're like, you know how some people end up getting like a $25 Starbucks drink on their birthday because they think they're getting away with something, and meanwhile it's like, yeah, but you got to drink that nasty ass fucking thing on your birthday now.
No, see, I'm trying to think. I don't think so, because I'm just not that. I'm like not that diligent about stuff, or like the way that people like coupon and shit.
Yeah.
That it's just like I see it. I know a girl, or we used to be friends when we were younger, and I feel like the only connection we have is through Facebook, and that's just because we knew each other when we were younger. But for a while she was getting into couponing, and then she would like post all these pictures of like all the stuff she got at couponing. And it's like, that's cool, you got like 9 bottles of laundry detergent for like $2, but it's like now you have 9 bottles of laundry detergent in your apartment, and it's like, where the fuck is that shit gonna go? Like where do you put it? Like, I guess if you had a big house or something where you could store stuff, like okay, that makes sense. But then even that, I'm just like, I don't have the time or the energy for that shit. And I'm certainly not going to buy something that I'm not going to use simply because
it's cheap.
It's cheap. Yeah. I only use like I'm trying to think of, it's like I don't even know the laundry detergent that I use.
Exactly. I
usually always get all like the little all pods, but it's like I wouldn't go through a newspaper and like find coupons for Tide and then be like, okay, now I'm just gonna go buy like all this Tide because it's so cheap. It just so I don't think that I'd ever taken advantage of a scam before, but I will say my one Karen move that did work was I was like, oh God, I think I was like 11. Oh. And Harriet the Spy had just come out, and Nickelodeon was doing this promotion where you could get like the spy kit. And if you like watched, or I don't know what they called it on Saturday, but it was like their TGIF, but it was on Saturday. And, you know, they had Are You Afraid of the Dark and all that bullshit. Yeah. And Snick. Oh my God, yes.
Nick at Night, yeah.
Snick.
Or no, yeah. Nick at Night was the
Oh yeah, Nick at Night was like the old people thing.
Yeah, I'll stop interrupting.
And no. So it was Snick, and they were like, oh, if you watch Snick and then you like call in or whatever, you could get like this Harriet the Spy pack. And I was like all fucking jazzed and ready to go. And I was like, all right, it's Saturday, Grandma. We're gonna watch Snick. We're gonna do this. And then I called in, and then they said like, oh, all the things had been given away. And then I was like really upset. And then I kind of sat there and thought about it. And then I was like, well, we're on the West Coast, and all the kids on the East Coast have already seen all this stuff before I have. And so they have all gotten this stuff before I did. And I don't think that's fair. And then my grandma was like, well, why don't you write a letter? And I was like, yes. So I got a pen and paper and I wrote to Nickelodeon, and I was like, I don't think it's very fair that you have these contests that don't take into consideration kids on the West. Obviously, I wasn't that like, coherent about it. And then by the end of the summer, I get this package in the mail, and it's from Nickelodeon. And they said, hey, we got your letter, and we're really sorry about what happened. And they were like, here's your Harriet the Spy kit. And I got it. And I was like, yes. I don't even remember what was in it. I don't even know if I still have it. But I guess I did I did Karen myself, but it worked. But you're right. You're right. It always works. It always works.
And that's a good Karen. That's a good Karen move. Like, you were right. These Karens were right. The HHPG was 100% correct, and so were you. But what fascinates me is that your grandma told you to write a letter, and these people were definitely senior citizens. So, like, I think that's just maybe the generation then. It's like the greatest generation loved writing letters about, and that was their like shit post back in the day. Instead of going to Reddit and just being like, Epstein didn't kill himself.
Oh my god, if I see one more of those fucking memes, I'm gonna kill myself. Christ. You know, I'm so sick and tired of reading something that I think is informational, and then I get to the goddamn end, and then it's Epstein didn't kill. Fuck, get over it. Like, oh man. Yeah, but I guess also too, boomers are, you promised me this thing, and now I expect this thing, and so I'm gonna get this thing because it was promised to me.
And we're just so used to having every promise broken.
Yeah, that it's like, it's gonna take way more energy to fight this thing. So, I guess that sucks. I fucking lost. And then, but boomers are like, no, we're gonna start a group. We're gonna come up with a name. We're gonna organize. We're gonna mobilize. We're gonna fucking convince people to steal vans. Like, we're gonna buy shareholders. We're gonna sue.
Until we get our trips to Lisbon.
Yeah. I would be so curious. I really would like to meet someone who was a part of that group, and I really want to know where they went.
Yeah.
And what they did, and like but I want to ask them like rapid fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you fought so hard for this thing. What did you do with it? Like, what ended up happening?
Where'd you go? What'd you do?
I bet you they don't remember fucking shit.
Well, we rented an RV, and we drove down to Toledo.
Yeah. They're like, that's in like, and all of that. See, that surprises me more than the whole Hoover campaign, is just how angry people will get. I mean, I guess it's also the same thing too, of like, every once in a while you hear a story and it's like, someone called 911 because Taco Bell didn't give them fire, or or like McDonald's ran out of chicken nuggets or something.
We think we're way more entitled now.
Yeah, but it's just like, I guess there are just some people who are, that if there is something that is being offered, they should get that thing. And it doesn't matter how much, like, they were promised something, and that's just the way it's gonna be.
I live in a single bedroom apartment with 84 cats, and my children don't speak to me anymore. You're going to give me that plane ticket.
Yeah.
Because I have nothing else important in my life.
Yeah. And now you have, like, what is it? Was it Equifax?
Yeah,
They have that whole lawsuit, and then they were like, oh, it's going to be $125 everyone gets. So everyone signs up for it. And then they're like, oh, who knew everyone was going to sign up for it? Because it was 150 million fucking people who were affected by it. And so you're not going to get that $125.
Yeah, I didn't even sign up for the class action. Like, my bank has been sued so many times, and I keep getting these class action things of like, oh, just submit your name, submit your social security, do all these things, and you'll get $14. I'm like, not worth my fucking time. Yeah.
It's like, or you do it, and then you don't end up getting it anyway.
I got hit by a car. And it took me a year. We both had different experiences from like car accidents.
Yeah.
Like your ex got a thing in like 6 days. It took me like a year to get it. At that point, I wasn't even counting on it. I was just like, if I get this money, great. But I am not like going to be fucking emailing my lawyer every day anymore. I'm just gonna fucking move on with my goddamn life.
Yeah, my mom got in a car accident 2 years ago.
Oh no.
And she just had a deposition like 3 weeks ago in regards to the car accident from 2 years ago. Yeah, I don't know what happened with our, like, with my ex's situation and how, but I mean, that experience was just like, I mean, he got fucked up by a car. He got hit by the car. He was in the hospital. A guy that I worked with, his dad was like a personal injury lawyer. And so I went with him, and then I think it was like a month. And then he was like, okay, they're giving you all the, like, I don't think he had to do an interview. I don't think, all we had to do was just give him the hospital bills. And then they were like, okay, so here's the amount you're getting, and you got to come in and sign for the check. And thanks for everything. See you later. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, you and my mom are both like, I mean, I think my mom's accident was probably like worse than his was. I don't know what kind of insurance this other person had. I guess they just had like really, really good insurance that didn't want to fight it, or there was something on the back end that I'm supposing that my ex could have sued for way more or something, and that's why the insurance company was more than happy to just like get it over with and sign that paperwork so that we don't have to go any further than this, because the way that they folded so quickly, I can't imagine.
Yeah, never take the offer if they give it to you. Like, I mean, yes, take it, because you never know when the money's actually going to arrive. Mm-hmm. But dude, yeah, like, I don't know. We're way off topic now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because like we always say who died on a hill. I could definitely Hoover as in general died on the hill. The people who thought of it, like Webb and Barkley, I think they obviously died on a hill. Surprisingly though, Karen climbed the hill, put a flag in the top of it, and just like fucking just wheelbarrow rolled all the way down and just kept. They owned the hill after that.
Yeah, and they won. They got exactly what they wanted. So yeah, I guess the lesson is just complain and you'll get your way. You'll eventually wear down the other party so much that
that's a good title.
No choice but to give up.
That's a good title for the podcast. Yeah, it'll be Hoover 1992, the day the Karens won.
Yeah. So I'm curious, does anybody know what happened to the people who were fired from Hoover? Like the people whose idea it was, like this Webb and...
I couldn't find anything for them afterwards. They're only ever mentioned in the giant fuck up that is this thing. Mm-hmm. If they were vice presidents, they could have been... If they were vice presidents at Hoover, which was an old company, they were probably in their 50s. So I guess they got a pretty good severance package and either were able to start a new company or just retire early.
Yeah.
And like when you're in Britain in 1992 and the recession's all on and like you just got embarrassed in front of everyone, yeah, just retire. I would do that.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. So Hoover never bounced back from this, right?
They never did. No, they became a very middling kind of discount brand after that, until they came to America and got licensed, and then like more money was put into them by Maytag. But no, the trust from the British side of things never came back, and so they really deteriorated. It just became a name after that. It didn't stand for like the quality or common sense that it used to. Like British people love things being very common sense. Like, oh no, it's a no nonsense thing. Like that's for the Italians. Italians love nonsense
and like embellishments or what is it? Accoutrement? Is that the word? Yeah, I have gotten that vibe from, there is like a no nonsense quality to like, I don't need anything frilly. I need something basic and sturdy, and something that's like tough and sturdy, and that's all I need. And I don't need fancy colors, and I just need a track jacket. Yeah, and that just give me something basic that works, and that's it. Okay, so that's what you're saying, that Dyson starts to get popular in the 90s.
Yeah, I think that's when Dyson really started. It was what did you say, May? the other brand that you said, like Mayfair or May.
Mainstay.
Yeah, I think Mainstay actually did like become the second one after that. But again, it was the recession. I don't think anyone was really buying vacuums at that point.
Yeah.
So if anything, it just hurried along what was already going to be a bad situation. Because I think the recession hit Britain before it hit America, and it hit America about in 92, 93. So things could have just been bad in general, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that'll do it. We're about an hour into here.
Oh, okay.
And I want to thank you for coming on. This was amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I had no idea. I really had no idea what I was walking into. So this was very informative, interesting. And yeah, I'm going to look up more about Hoover now.
Nice.
when I go.
Yes. Do you think he was selling fake gold maybe?
Honestly, that wouldn't put it past. I wouldn't be surprised if they were all fake because I was also like / like an assistant thing. So he had me go through like all of his paperwork and he had like all this shit from the IRS. He had shit from attorneys that was like dealing with his cases with the IRS. Like dude was in like some hot water at one point in his life, and why he just had me randomly going. I guess he didn't think that I would read through it, but I'm nosy as fuck. And I'm like, if someone gives like, even on emails, like if people send me a chain email,
sure.
I will go all the way from the bottom and I'll read all like, because I'm nosy as fuck. And I'm like, if you're going to put it there, then like, I'm going to read through it. And so I was like reading through all this stuff and I was just like, oh, this is not okay. Like everything about this man is creepy as fuck. But then again, it was like, what was it? Was it like 2007, 2008?
Oh, wow.
I think it was like, yeah, it was like 2008.
That was the Wild West days of Craigslist too.
Yeah.
Anything could fucking go on Craigslist back then.
Yeah. And it like, I mean, I'd go there for 4 hours and then I'd walk away with $100 and I was just like, okay, this is fucking easy. Like this dude's a weirdo, but I know the deal now. So I know how to like handle myself with him and like whatnot. And then, yeah, that went on for a couple months, but yeah, his whole deal was just like selling but now that you mention it, I would not be surprised if they were like all fake.
Wow.
Yeah. That wouldn't shock me whatsoever because that dude was into some like shady fucking shit and like selling fake coins when.
What if he like didn't even go to the heart hospital? He just had this go bag and he just like fucked off.
I mean, maybe that too. I mean, if he was in like all this, like, oh my God, that'd be so hilarious. Like, what if the house got like raided by the feds? Like 2 hours after I left, and I don't even remember the dude's name. I don't know what he looks like. He could be standing right in front of me, and I'm like, I wouldn't even know who you were. Like, yeah, it was just such a weird. That was probably like one of the weirdest working experiences.
Did he used to wear like tight Armani Exchange?
No, like a Hawaiian t-shirt and like khaki shorts or like jean shorts. Like it was always shorts of some kind. But I mean, he looked like an old dad.
Okay.
Like an old dad. And yeah, he was just like doing all this weird.
That sounds like a dirty
shit.
John kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like a dude who's just scamming for a lifestyle.
I think so because his house was super nice. He had a really nice house and his whole setup, like it was an Awatuki. And I didn't bring my own computer or anything. And he had his personal computer. He had like 3 or 4 computers set up. Like
he's like doing like day trading and early deep web Bitcoin shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that like thinking about it now, I'm just like, holy shit, what kind of like the dumb shit that I used to do and just be like, oh, it's totally fine. It's totally fine that me as an adult now, it's like you really went into some random man's house that you met off the internet because he was paying you $25 an hour cash. Mm-hmm. And like you heard all the shit that was going on, and at no point where you were just like, okay, just be hyper aware, just be like more aware, and you'll be fine. And just like, I just can't believe that I did that for so long and didn't end up like on a Dateline story.
Candice and I could compare notes on all the jobs we've had.
Like weird. weird job. Arizona's a weird place, and there's a lot of weird jobs, and there's a lot of like, imagine all the hustlers that are here in LA.
And just imagine that like rent's cheaper.
Yeah, and like take them down a peg because they're all living in Phoenix, Arizona. And then, like, it's just like, oh God. But yeah, that was, so I've definitely, I guess that's my experience with gold coins. But yeah, I don't even know. Like now that I'm thinking about it, I bet all that shit was fake. I bet I was posting fake ads like all over the country for like fake. Because I mean, I saw them, like I physically saw them, so I know that he had them.
Do you have his
email? They were in like cases and everything. No, I don't even know.
Did you ever communicate to him through email? Was it over like text?
I mean, it had to have been through email because he posted the job on Craigslist. And the first meeting we had was at like a Chili's, and I sent I sent a couple of our coworkers, Aaron and Charlie, the info that I had, because I was like, if this dude fucking murders me, like that's...
Yeah, and you already had a job.
That's where I was. Yeah, I already had a job. Yeah, it wasn't like, oh... It wasn't like, oh, I need money because I'm going to get kicked out of my apartment because I can't make rent. But it was just like extra money. And it was like, oh, this is like the easiest. Like, yeah, I can post an ad. Like, who can't post an ad on Craigslist? And like, this guy wants, but I mean, even thinking about it now, like in 2008 money, like
$25 an hour was a lot
to post ads on Craigslist and Backpage and some other I can't think of the other random one. But that's kind of a lot of money to like, hit ad. And it was just the same one. It was just the same one, like all day, but because he was like, oh, I need it constantly refreshed so people are seeing it. Yeah. And except for Backpage, they had like a monitoring where it's like you couldn't post the same one over and over and over. Mm-hmm. You'd have to change it.
So you're doing like early black hat SEO shit too. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like changing it like a little bit here and a little bit there. But I saw the actual coin, like they were in little plastic cases and they had like a little header like card at the top. But yeah, they're probably fake as fuck, man.
I wonder if he had investments from people and it just wasn't working out. And he like, that's when he was like, oh, it's not working out. People need their money. Oh, I'm about to have a heart attack. I think I need to leave town.
Yeah. Jeff definitely is like the shadiest of shady shit. So, and anything is possible with that guy. Oh man, I wish I was so much better at saving stuff because
like you could be the key witness in like a American Greed episode.
Maybe. Oh, you know what? It makes me. I wonder if my email from like, because I think my email was like Hotmail at the time, and that's why I don't have it anymore, because I think it like 2012 was when I switched everything officially to my Gmail. So that's only as far.
More than 10 years. I mean, you'd hope they'd scrub it, but who the fuck knows?
Yeah, I'm curious if I could get back into my Hotmail account and just find this guy. So, because I have to have an email, because it was a Craigslist ad, and so I had to have emailed him back, and we had to have set up the first initial meeting through email. Oh, yeah, this is